Hello, YouTubers. I'm headed to Carpentersville, Illinois, which is 40 miles northwest of Chicago, to a mall where on April 16th, 1983, a young woman named Karen Schepers was last seen alive after a party honoring her promotion at work. It was held at a bar called PM Bentley's, and when the work party ended at 1 a.m. on early Saturday morning, all her work friends left and Karen was the last one to stay. But no one saw her leave, and to this day, Karen and her car has not been seen ever since. On this video, I'm going to try and locate where the bar was in 1983 and drive the route she might have taken on her drive back home on that dark, rainy night when she disappeared. Since Karen and her car have not been located, it is possible that she may have drove into a river along the side of the road she took on her way back. I'm going to search the Fox River where I think she and her car may be resting, and for a final stop, head to the home where she once lived. I have arrived at the Meadow Lake Shopping Center in Carpentersville. It has changed a bit since 1983, and PM Bentley's, the bar where Karen was last seen, is no longer around, and I have no idea to where it was originally located. But I'm going to just show you this area, and maybe someone watching that is familiar with this mall back in the 80s might shed some light to where it was. Karen L. Schepers was just 23 years old when she vanished exactly 40 years ago on April 16, 1983. She worked at the First Chicago Bank Card in Elgin as a computer programmer and had just recently received a promotion. Karen and 20 of her workmates thought it would be a great idea to celebrate the promotion here on Friday, April 15, 1983. And unknown to her and her friends, this would be the last time she would be seen alive. Karen was excited for the celebration, and after work she deposited her $1,200 tax refund at the bank and drove to her apartment in Elgin to change for the party, and then made a 10-minute drive to PM Bentley's Tavern in her yellow 1980 Toyota Celica hatchback. She arrived at 5:30 p.m. and spent the next several hours socializing with her colleagues. A few days ago, she invited her fiancé Terry Schultz to meet her at the party, and when he hadn't arrived by 9 p.m., Karen called Terry and they had a bit of an argument. Terry told Karen he couldn't make it because he had to prepare for a catering job the next morning. Terry promised to touch base with her on Saturday. Karen was upset by this, but she didn't let it show and proceeded to enjoy herself and even participated in a hula hoop contest until she fell laughing on the floor. There were no signs of any problems and everyone seemed to have a good time. Now I believe this is where PM Bentley's used to be. I just have a hunch because in the ad I showed earlier, it's located inside the mall. Karen probably parked her car in this lot and went inside this entrance. I'm going inside to see what it looks like now. It's empty here. Today there are few shops left, but back in the time of Karen's disappearance, this mall was busy and full of customers. Any of these large empty suites could have housed PM Bentley's. Now back to the story. As the night wore on, the group began to decrease in size. By 1 a.m., all of Karen's co-workers had left the bar. Each of them would later recall that Karen was still at the bar when they left. No one remembered seeing Karen leave the bar, but it's believed she left shortly after 1 a.m. What happened after that is unclear, as neither she nor her car were ever seen again. Terry tried calling Karen on Saturday but got no response, but he wasn't worried because they both made plans that weekend. Then Sunday came and still no response. Terry became suspicious that Karen was purposely avoiding him because he thought that she was still mad at him for not showing up at her party on Friday night. At the same time, several of Karen's friends also tried to reach her that weekend. All were unsuccessful. Although it was unlike Karen to go without returning phone calls, everyone assumed that she had just had a busy weekend planned. No one thought that anything was seriously wrong. Terry finally called the Elgin police and reported her missing because Karen failed to come to work on Monday and he knew something bad had happened to her. Karen had been missing for more than 48 hours after police were informed of her disappearance, and the last place they could conclusively place Karen was at PM Bentley's in the early hours of Saturday morning. Police were unable to determine if she made it back to her apartment after leaving the bar, but none of her belongings appeared to be missing or out of place. All of Karen's work friends who were there with her at the bar were interviewed by police, and they all said that nothing seemed out of place and Karen was in a jovial mood, enjoying herself with her coworkers at the bar. So what happened to Karen at night when she vanished? Did she meet someone at the bar after everyone left and was met with foul play? It is quite possible that she ran to someone with evil intentions and was murdered along the way. Or did she just leave the bar on her own and being drunk and tired, accidentally drove her car into the Fox River on her way back to her apartment? To me, this makes a lot of sense. Assuming that Karen wasn't abducted and she merely decided to drive home from PM Bentley's, I am going to take the route that I think she took alongside Fox River. Here are maps of the two possible roads she might have taken. Dundee Road, where there are two lakes that she possibly might have drove into, but there are trees that would have blocked her car, and there is Duncan Road, which is close to the Fox River, and one can easily drive their car into and disappear in the river. I am leaning towards the road close to the river. As I mentioned earlier, it was raining that night on April 16, 1983, that made the road slippery, and she might have easily lost control of her car or fell asleep on the wheel and drove into the body of water. I have left the mall and heading towards Karen's apartment using the road she might have took that tragic night. It would have taken Karen 10 to 15 minutes to travel 6 miles to get home. I have made a stop on Duncan Road alongside Fox River. That car approaching would have been the direction Karen would have been traveling. Now, Karen being inebriated and tired of her partying all night and the road being slippery, she could have lost control of her car and skidded right into this river. As you can see, it is quite close to the road and there are no trees or a guardrail obstructing her way. From this point, Karen was less than 2 miles from her apartment. I am still at Duncan Avenue, and to the right is another body of water that Karen could have drove into. It is about 1,000 feet north from the last spot I showed you. This one is a small lake, and it's on the other side of the Fox River and much closer to the road. This fence may not have been here back in 1983, and if it wasn't, then this lake could very well be where Karen and her car could be resting today. Here's a bird's eye view of the lake, and it's 1,200 feet long and about 12 feet deep, enough to hide a small car. A few days after Karen's disappearance, Karen's father, Lauren, who was a pilot, rented a small plane and spent the next 2 days flying over the Elgin area, hoping to spot Karen's bright yellow car, thinking perhaps she might have gotten into an accident and driven her car off the side of a road. They paid close attention to the route she would have taken home from the bar, but found nothing. The aerial search was expanded on the second day, focusing on creeks and riverbeds. The search covered all areas in a 50-mile radius of Elgin. They found no clues to Karen's whereabouts. Police helicopters had also flown over the area. They too found no evidence to show that Karen had ran off the road or ended up in any of the bodies of water in the area. When police reopened the case in 2008, they conducted a few small searches on foot and also used sonar technology to scan several bodies of water near where Karen was last seen. Unfortunately, they found nothing relevant to the investigation. To the best of my knowledge, the police had not hired divers to search any bodies of water along the area. Karen's 29-year-old boyfriend, Terry Schultz, became the main suspect early on in the investigation because they couldn't link anyone that was close to Karen, so police questioned him intensely, and Terry volunteered to take a polygraph test, of which he passed. Terry cooperated with the police and even helped search for her. he was eventually ruled out. Terry felt guilty for not being with Karen that fateful night. He would have looked after her and none of this would have happened, he thought. After so many years, Terry eventually married someone else and became wheelchair bound later in life and passed away not knowing what happened to Karen. In 2008, the police erected 7 billboards displayed on major highways all over the Elgin area in an attempt to revive interest in the case. They've questioned numerous people that knew Karen, including family members, hoping to catch details that were missed, but nothing came about. Since her disappearance, there has been no activity in her bank accounts, credit cards, or social security card number. She had no debt and had savings of over $7,000, including a $1,200 tax refund, and all her belongings, which proves that she wasn't a victim of a robbery or voluntarily disappeared to start a new life. Serial killers known to prowl in Illinois were also investigated, but no links to Karen could be determined. I am heading towards Karen's apartment in Elgin, and it's this blue house. Her apartment's on the right side. Karen moved here from Sycamore, Illinois, where she lived with her mom. She wanted to be close to her job as a computer programmer at First Chicago Bank Card. From all accounts, she never made it home from PM Bentley's that night 40 years ago. She remains a missing person. The search for Karen Schepers still continues today. Karen has brown hair and brown eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she stood at 5 foot 7 inches and weighed 125 pounds. She was wearing a tan corduroy coat with a hood and a gold Wittenauer watch. She was driving a yellow 1980 Toyota Celica hatchback with red pinstripes, Illinois license plate number XP8919, and VIN RA4232630. If you have any information about Karen, please contact the Elgin Police Department at 847-289-2700. If Karen was abducted and murdered, her killers took great planning disposing her body and her car, leaving no traces to her whereabouts. But I don't think that's the case. I still believe that she and her car are both resting here, somewhere deep at the bottom of the Fox River, or any body of water alongside her passage home. YouTubers Adventures with Purpose, an underwater search and recovery dive team dedicated to helping families of missing loved ones, should come here and search for Karen. With their state-of-the-art sonar technology and diving experience, I truly believe that they can find her. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on another case.